Hi, I'm Megan Price, and welcome to the NBA Carousel, a Sideline Sports Network production, proudly sponsored by Score No Score app, available for download in Apple and Google Play stores. Also sponsored by Manscaped, and check out the Inscriber online magazine, where you can get all your culture, technology, and sports news provided by Sideline Sports. But let's jump right in the show. We have Jordan Long covering the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets this week. Hey, Jordan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Megan?
I'm doing really well. Exciting week for Phoenix, but Denver too. So, who do you want to start with?
We'll start with the Nuggets.
Okay. All right. Talk to me about what's going on with you guys.
So Monday we had kind of a weird game against Golden State. We won by 7. The reason why I say it was weird is because Golden State didn't have their good players. They didn't have Klay Thompson. They didn't have Steph Curry. But it didn't matter. We ended up beating them 131-124. Jokic 32 points, 15 rebounds, 13 assists, triple-double obviously. Jeff Green and Monte Morris 18 points, Rivers 15, Gordon and 8 points. But if you look at the Golden State Warriors, Jordan Powell and Moses Moody combined for 62 points. So that's basically how they stayed in the game. And we know that Golden State can hit 3-pointers. So they nailed 17. There's the difference right there. I mean, sure, if you look at it, you get rid of the 17, they're not in that game. Nuggets should have won this big, but of course we know they're 3-point shooting.
Absolutely. Well, let's move on to the next game.
That was against the Sacramento Kings. This was a pretty tight battle. I mean, we knocked them off 106-100. Jokic did his thing, double-double, 38 points, 18 rebounds. Morris, 20 points. Gordon, 11 points. Reed, 7 points. Rivers, 6. De'Aaron Fox for the Kings kept him in the game. 32 points, 10 assists. Harrison Barnes, 17. And actually, Trey Lyles, who's actually a pretty good defender, had 14 points. But the thing is, though, it was the rebounds. 51 by the Nuggets, 38 for the Kings, which limited the Kings' second chance opportunity. So basically, it was an all-around good game for the Nuggets.
Absolutely. And then you guys ended up playing the Warriors again. This was a home game for you guys this past Thursday. And had to take the L on that one, but it was kind of a close game. What do you think happened in that game?
Second half. I mean, you look at the second half that we got outscored 62-42. You can't do that to Steph Curry and the gang. Really, Steph Curry did his thing, 34 points, and Klay Thompson, 18 points. I mean, Jokic had a pretty good game, 23 points, 12 rebounds. But you just cannot let Steph Curry and those guys go off. And that was pretty much the difference. We didn't play good defense perimeter-wise.
Alrighty, and then talk to me about the Saturday game. You guys played the Raptors, who is pretty much a red-hot team right now. So not that to take the loss badly, because it's a good team that's really getting hot right at this moment.
Well, what actually happened was it was the fourth quarter. It was a close game until up until then, and Toronto just came out firing. They outscored us 34-16. We got the loss 127-115. Jokic did his thing again, double-double, 26 points, 10 rebounds. But if you look at who their main scores were, it was Siakam with 33 points, Scotty Barnes 25 points. But it was the rebounds that actually kept the Raptors from defeat. Really, it was 50-39. Of course, we turned the ball over. That doesn't help. We know in NBA, you have to protect the ball. We had 19. They only had 8. So there was a difference there.
Absolutely. And then now you guys are playing Philadelphia in Philly. And it's kind of a tough start for you guys. Currently 14-29 with the Sixers up. Are you watching this game currently or just kind of keeping up with the stats?
I'm keeping up with the stats. Actually, now it's a 13-point game. But if you look at our starters, we're not playing very well. It's really actually even scoring because Jokic has 14 and everyone else, 4 points and everyone else has 4 points. But really, Joel Embiid is beating us inside with 10 points. But of course, it's only the first half. There's still plenty of game left.
Absolutely. Still really early in the game. Talk to me about the games that you have coming up this week.
Wednesday, We have Washington. I thought Washington was a pretty good team to start the year. They have fallen off. They're 11th in the Eastern Conference. So, I mean, that should be a pretty good game, but it's a trap game because of their record. Friday in Cleveland, they're 60. They're trying to stay out of that playing tournament just like us. I mean, it's going to be a really hard fought game for us just because it's the last game on this road trip. Then Sunday at home against Boston. Boston's a very interesting team just because they're fifth in the Eastern Conference. They have a starting five that can actually play with anybody, I think, with Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and Robert Williams. Basically, just we have to push the pace, but it's the first game home, so who knows what that's going to mean, because a lot of the times the first game off of a road trip, you don't usually see teams play very well.
Absolutely. And we saw the Celtics, they were getting better before the All-Star break or the trade deadline. And then they picked up Derek White from the Spurs. And I think that's going to be an integral piece for their bench. I think that's somebody that he was playing in the bench in San Antonio off the bench as well. But he has the ability to, give you 19, 20 points. Like, he is an excellent shooter. So the Celtics that's going to be a tough team to play against, most definitely.
It really is. And plus, coming off of a long road trip, I don't know what to expect from the Nuggets because, again, like I said, it's the hardest game to come back from is that first game back at home.
Absolutely. Well, sliding over to your Suns, now we know the game last night was a pretty exciting game as far as being a Phoenix Sun. But let's start at the beginning of the week. You guys played the Magic on Tuesday. You won that game 102-99. Really close game.
It really was. Orlando actually had a chance to win that game with 6.3 seconds left, but Fred Wagner's shot was blocked. I believe it was Shamet that got the block, but it was a block. And if that goes in, we're headed to overtime. But Shamet and Ayton, 21 points each, considering there was no Devin Booker. Ayton had 19 rebounds, though, so double-double for him. Payne, 18 points. Bridges, 13. Crowder, 7. If you look in the Magic, the reason why they stayed in that game, though, was 52 points from their starters. But their bench points also helped them, 47. We only had 22. So there was a difference for the Magic for them to stay in the game. But luckily, we got past them. And I know they're not a very good team. They're still a young team, but they are still dangerous.
Absolutely. They have some good pieces over there. And then on Wednesday, you guys played the Heat, which is the number one team in the East, and you beat them by 21 points. Talk to me about that game.
Booker was back. I mean, we had our best player on the floor, had 23 points, 9 assists. Bridges, 21 points. Ayton, double-double again, 19 points and 10 rebounds. Cameron Payne also double-double, 11 points and 10 assists. If you look at the Heat, though, Bam Adebayo had 17 points, Duncan Robinson, 22. And basically, their bench outscored our bench 32-26, but the fact of the matter is we actually held them in check in terms of rebounds, 55-38. That's how we won that game, just boxing out. And we know second chance opportunities, we held them in check.
And then speaking of those Raptors, you guys played them on Friday, and the Raptors were able to pull out that win on that game as well, 117-112. Talk to me about that game.
If you look at the stats, it was Gary Trent Jr. from the Raptors who torched them with 42 points. I mean, we had pretty good scoring with Booker with 22, Payne with 24, Bridges 18, Ayton 16, Crowder 13. But you can't let a guy go for 42, and that basically was what hurt us. They got to the free throw line, actually hit 19. We hit 13. Rebounds wise, again, they out rebounded us 48-40. But it was the fast break points too. They had 25, we had 15. So all in all, I mean, I'm not going to say it was a bad effort. The Raptors are a pretty good team. Losing by 5, not bad since we still don't have Chris Paul.
Absolutely. And speaking of Chris Paul, have we heard? We heard at the All-Star game that it was going to be 6 to 8 weeks, and so that was about 4 weeks ago. So how soon have we heard anything about how soon we'll see Chris Paul?
It's still about the same timeline. I haven't heard anything different. So probably around playoff time is when we'll see him, or pretty close to it.
Okay. And then let's talk about last night's game. It was a blowout win against the Lakers. We just saw the Lakers honestly looking a mess. And you guys, I mean, you put up 140. So, I mean, that's tough to beat anyway, but they only put up 111.
They did, and really, if you look at it, we held. I mean, LeBron James is going to get his points. He had 31,
Absolutely.
but the rest of the team didn't do much. Westbrook with 13, but we had Booker with 30 points, DeAndre Ayton again a double, 23 points, 16 rebounds. But it was the assist. We had better ball movement, 36 to 24, and we didn't let them have second chance opportunities. You can tell that the Lakers are missing Anthony Davis. We out rebounded them 51 to 37, and the fast break points. We got our fast break going. They couldn't stop us. 28 to 11. Plus, we own points in the paint. Again, that's an area that Anthony Davis would have helped with, but he's obviously not in the lineup. 76 points that we had in the paint to their 36.
Wow. And talk to me about the games that you have coming up this week.
Well, Tuesday at New Orleans, definitely a different team than we saw earlier this year. They have, they do have CJ McCollum out due to COVID, but and Brandon Ingram may be back. But obviously, if those two are out, makes it a little easier because of their offense. But of course, you have Valanciunas down under who can rebound. Wednesday against Houston, trap game just because Houston's not a great team this year. And then Friday, Chicago, they're a 4 seed in the East. They have some injuries, but who doesn't at this time of the year? But DeMar DeRozan, you have to guard him. If you don't, who knows what that game will be. And then the Kings, it's another trap game. I know they're a little bit better than they have been earlier in the year, but they're 13th in the Western Conference. So, I mean, I'd say it's a pretty solid week for us. I expect at least 3 wins.
I agree. And I do think that matchup is going to matter with DeMar DeRozan because that's somebody that, he's a high-powered shooter, but he doesn't play a whole lot of defense. So depending on who you put on him, would be able to score quite a bit.
Exactly. And I would assume we'd put Jay Crowder on him. If he drives in the lane, Ayton's going to be right there too. So you got 2 big bodies that can actually guard him. And of course, coming off the bench, JaVale McGee is another body that's going to have to stop him from driving into the lane as well.
All right, Jordan. Well, good luck on your games this week and let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you.
You can find me here on the NBA Carousel doing the Denver Nuggets, but mostly the Phoenix Suns. You can find me at Sports Scoop 1 and read my blog that I write Mondays through Thursdays with podcasts on Fridays at sports-scoop.com.
Thank you so much, Jordan. We'll see you next week. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Will Vogel covering the Utah Jazz. Hi, Will.
Hey, Megan.
How are you doing?
Doing good.
Awesome. So your team is number 4 right now in the West. You're 42-25. Let's talk about the games last week.
Yes, so we started the week with a loss to the Mavericks. We let Luka have 35 points and 16 rebounds, but Luka is going to do Luka things. Luka is a great player. And then Dinwiddie had 23 points. And you have to give credit to the Mavericks. That's an awesome second piece to put alongside Luka Doncic. And he's just balling out. He had 23 points. And I think you said they're like 9-2 since the trade deadline.
Yes.
So that's just good for them. Great.
Absolutely.
Great,
and I think for the Mavericks, you got to give credit. And I mean, because Luka was there before, but I think a lot of it's got to go towards Jason Kidd, not only in acquiring Dinwiddie and moving Porzingis, but just the way he's coaching that team. I think he's doing really, really well. And
I think he's a very underrated coach. I liked him as a player, and I thought personally, I was like, this guy's going to be a coach one day because he is that basketball mind. He played the point guard position. He was a great passer, a good scorer. Like, guy's a basketball mind. Guy's been around the league for, I want to say, 20-plus years.
Right, definitely. And so that game, they ended up winning 111-103. And then you guys played the Trailblazers on Wednesday. Huge win, blowout loss for Portland.
Yeah. Speak of the Mavericks real quick. Bogdanovich had 21 points. Mitchell had 17. Gobert had double-double. O'Neal had 13 points, and Clarkson had 19 points off the bench. But to the Blazers, yes, big win. Royce O'Neal had a double-double. Bogdanovich had 27 points, and Mitchell had 16 points. Yes, very big win.
And notably, their star in Anthony Simmons wasn't there either. So
yes.
Now,
That
I don't think
definitely
I don't
helped.
think they would have won the game, but it wouldn't have been this much of
No,
a
I don't
blowout
think
loss.
I think he would have made it like a 10-point loss, maybe 15, but not he wouldn't have made that big of a difference. But I knew coming in, with Simmons or not, we were going to win this game.
Absolutely. And Bogdanovich had a huge game in that game as well, like you said, 27 points. And at this point, do you feel like Bogdanovich is doing more scoring than Mitchell? And if so, why?
I feel like Bogdanovich is doing more scoring than Mitchell. Maybe it's to give Mitchell a little time to like relax and stuff. But Bogdanovich, like, don't get me wrong, Mitchell's a great scorer, phenomenal player, but Bogdanovich can shoot from three. Bogdanovich is such a good 3-point shooter, one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, maybe top 10, top 5. But yeah, he's scoring more than Mitchell, and I think he's more consistent than Mitchell.
All right, and then moving on to what was my game of the week. You played the Spurs on Friday. Ended up taking the loss, close game, 102-104. It was one of those games that it was either going to go to overtime or it was going to end the way it ended.
Yeah, it was a great game. The Spurs, credit to your Spurs, they played awesome. 4 Spurs had double digits. Pirtle and Johnson had double doubles. And Pop has the most wins in history after this game. And
right,
you got to give props to Popovich and his staff. Like the players played for Pop. You saw after the game he was hugging his players. He showed emotion, and they were like, right when the final horn, they just swarmed Pop. It was a great moment. Even though the Jazz took the loss, it was a great moment. NBA history. You can't hate NBA history, even if it's against your own team.
Mm-hmm. And I was kind of glad it was against Utah because Rudy Gay was there. And Rudy has actually been a part of the Spurs for like the last 4 or 5 seasons. And so he was able to still be a part of that with Pop, even though he was on the other side of things. So
yes, for sure.
Glad he was there. Miss him in San
And
Antonio.
I love the unit. I think you were wearing your throwback uniforms. I love those throwbacks. Yeah. So it kind of reminds me of when Pop first kind of started there, the teal and the pink and the kind of orangish yellow. Yeah. Very cool win. Great win for the Spurs.
Yeah, those are our Fiesta colors.
But Gobert had a double-double. Mitchell had 24 points. Whiteside had double-double off the bench, and Clarkson had 17 points off the bench. But like I said, the 4 Spurs were in double digits. So that's hard to stop.
And a big one off the bench for us was Zach Collins had 15 points. And we've actually seen him come back to play. He's had a rough couple of seasons. He was with
injury. Portland.
Yes. He had a long injury right before the bubble, came back in the bubble, played for like 4 games and got another injury and then didn't play until like a month ago. So
I've always liked Zach Collins. He was great on Gonzaga, and he was just a fun player to watch. It's a shame because he was like overlooked by Nurkic and those guys in Portland.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's move over to your next game.
Yes, we played the Kings. We won, but Gobert was out with a foot injury. Okay. It's nothing serious. I will get to that in a minute. Bogdanovich had 26 points. Whiteside had double-double. Mitchell 25 points. And the big one was Clarkson off the bench had 45, which is a franchise record for a reserve player for the Jazz. So 45 points from a bench player is huge. That insane. And I've told people this for this year, ever since he won it last year. Look, my 2 finalists for 6th Man of the Year are Kelly Oubre Jr. And Jordan Clarkson. I
think you got to throw Tyler Hero in there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. All of them are all deserving of it. Absolutely. I think they're all 3 amazing bench scorers.
Completely agree. So who do you guys have coming up this week?
So tonight we play the Bucks on ESPN at 10:30 Eastern time. Gobert is set to be back. It was just a soreness, foot sore. That will be a very interesting game because you got Bogdanovich Mitchell against Giannis and Chris Middleton. Then we played the Bulls. That'll be another really good game. Come down to the wire just like the Bucks game. So both games could be very close losses or very close wins. Then we play the Clippers, who they've been riding hot lately, but I think we'll squeak out. I think we'll win that game, even though the Clippers are playing really good as of late. And then we end the week with the Knicks, and the Knicks, they've struggled all year. They're just a mess right now, and I think we'll win. So I can either see us 3-1 or 2-2. If I had to predict, I'm going to say 2-2.
2-2. I definitely think 2-2 is very possible, but you could take one of the Bulls or the Bucks games. It just
that's what I'm thinking.
It depends, but
they're both going to be such good games, and I think they're both must watch. Like I'm gonna after this Phillies Nuggets game, I'm gonna watch that Bucks Jazz game real close, and keep tabs of the other games during the week and just see how the games progress.
Well, thank you so much, Will. Good luck on your games this week, and let everybody know where they can find you and follow you.
So you guys can find me here on Monday nights, either covering the Jazz or the Hornets, sometimes both. You guys can find me Thursday nights on the Sip Off, hosted by Megan Price, Jahan Phillips, and Anthony Brown. And then you could find me on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. There wasn't an episode yesterday, but it's coming this week. Episode 2 of the Basket Bros, Jacob Christner, Dom Jarubis, and Jay Nelson and I, 2000s and back basketball show, Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Awesome. I will definitely be tuned in. Thank you, Will. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Joseph Jenkins covering the Washington Wizards. Hey, Joseph.
How's it going?
It's really well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Just getting something to eat real quick. How about you?
I had to work today and just got off a little bit earlier. But talk to me about what your Wizards have going on. Wednesday, you guys played the Clippers. It was a loss, but it was a close game. What do you think happened in this game?
Reggie Jackson and then defending the three. You know, oftentimes the Wizards, when they would try to pull away, Reggie Jackson would either nail a three or Marquise Morris. But soon, the Clippers shot, I think, 50% from three. They shot lights out from three. And in this league, if you can shoot threes, excuse me, I think something in my throat, you can win anything.
Absolutely. And in that game, but let me look real quick. Reggie had 31 points. And then Morris also had 27 points. So that was huge for them. Meanwhile, you guys had several players in double digits, but we didn't have anybody with 20 plus. Porzingis led the shooting with 19 points, and then Hashimura had 18. Kuz had 17, and then Caldwell Pope had 16. So good performances, but not good enough.
The rotations aren't allowing guys to really bring out the best in them.
Okay.
Couple things. Kristaps, he had 18 points, but he only had 1 rebound. And as a big, that shouldn't even be possible to be a big and a starting big and only have 1 rebound. And oftentimes during the game, you wouldn't see him down by the basket a lot of times. I mean, we know that he's a finesse guy, that he doesn't prefer to be there. But if Zubac can get 7+ rebounds down in the paint, where are you? So that was a little bit telling on that front. And then, for example, Rui Hachimura has been a consistent scorer off the bench, giving at least 10 to 15 points a game. Right. But he doesn't stay in the game that long. There are certain players that I feel that Coach West wants to prove that they are good players, maybe for a trade market, whatever the case may be. But it stops guys from getting into a flow, because I think I've learned that if you're consistent, we just talked to Will about Jordan Clarkson. At the end of the game, Jordan Clarkson is in the game just down the stretch with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert and Bogdan Bogdanovic. But You don't see Rui Hachimura in there. I think, with guys like KCP, Kuzma, all of them, they kind of have their set spots, but sometimes you got to ride with the hot hand. And
absolutely.
I think Rui could have gone for at least 25, maybe 30, because he seemed really uncomfortable into the game. And he seemed like he was, as he kept scoring, he was like, you know what? I really do have a matchup that I can take over.
Absolutely. And then the next game, you guys, this was a game that we had circled on the schedule because it was your first matchup against the Lakers in a while. And the Lakers ended up being able to win that game 122-109. It was in LA, so it wasn't a home game for you guys. Talk to me about what happened.
Easy. The moment was too much for them. And all week long, and I think we said this last week, I wanted them to get off but play within the offense. Like, don't try to do too much. Don't let the emotion of coming back, got you. And you can tell that was anything of the sort. The emotion got to them. There were so many careless turnovers from guys. And it's not like that the LA Lakers were playing great defense. It was one of those things like you were throwing a pass and it hits off your hand and goes out of balance. Like just little things because you're too hyped because you want to get the ball and get down to the hoop. But everybody wants to kind of chalk this loss to like LeBron James. I don't chalk it to LeBron James. I think LeBron James played the mental game with Kyle Kuzma and KCP, and he knew that these guys were going to try extremely hard to get out there. We just seen LeBron go for 30 plus against Phoenix, but he wasn't touting his chest, spouting up everything. He wasn't letting that motion because he knew the team he was playing was not going to let that get to him and not get that rattle. Against us, he knew that if he was trying to do something, we were going to try to match him because the whole narrative is these guys were only not as good as they could be because they were playing with him. And I think he used that to his advantage, and we just ate it up. There are times like after he hit a three, he would see Kuzma walking up the court antsy, like just ready to get going, gets a turnover, and then next year LeBron's walking up the court and you see Kuzma like looking around like, all right, I got this, but hold up. And next thing you know, quick basket. LeBron kind of worked the mental game. The game was just too much for them because they were I've seen a team that was making turnovers that I wasn't used to making for them at all. Even as average as we are, there are certain turnovers that just clearly are emotion.
It was the pressure of the game. And while you say you don't put the loss on LeBron, he did have 50 points, and this put him up there in the ranks with Kobe and Jamal Crawford with being over 37 with a 50-point game.
True. But the reason why it bothers me is that because a little bit on that, like, with LeBron's, because we beat Philly by letting Embiid go for 35 plus and had like 14 rebounds. We can let the star go off if we stop everybody else. But there was no defense in that game because everybody was too antsy and not making mistakes. So while LeBron was getting his off, you had Reeves go on and get like 10 or 12 points or so.
Right.
You had all the other guys still, Carmelo, people coming in. You could, if you let LeBron get his and you shut everybody else down, that probably was a victory. Because
I absolutely agree. And that's something that I say a lot about Trey and Luka and Ja. Like, you're not really going to contain them. They're going to get their points no matter what. It's about shutting down their pieces around them.
Like, look, LeBron had 30-some plus yesterday, lead their scoring, but they got blown out. Why? No one else was getting off.
Good example. Yeah, most definitely. All right, let's go to your next game. You guys played the Trailblazers, and the Trailblazers were able to pull out the win, 127-118. What happened in this game?
If you want to get your career day, call 1-800-Washington Wizards because we will give you your career day. Okay? And I think there was a lot of going on. I think it was emotion and upset and being annoyed that you lost last game against the Lakers, a game that you really wanted for guys like Kuzma and KCP because you wanted them to show out. And I'll be honest with you, I think Chauncey Billups outcoached West Jr. They're both rookie coaches, but I think I'm learning that the adjustments that West tries to make, he doesn't really make too many adjustments. I don't know what Thomas Bryant has on this man, but this man, Thomas Bryant, for some reason, still likes to he keeps getting in games, and he gets boxed out and rebounds by point guards. Like there's no strength and size too much to everyone except for maybe Daniel Gafford, and he's even limited. But Daniel Gafford came in the game, ended up with 14 points because he got 8 points at the end of the game, but he only played 13 minutes, and he was a starter. He wasn't the backup point guard. He was the center. He was the starting center. But Thomas Bryant played 23 minutes, and then we lost. Josh Hart had 40-something points.
He did. Again. He had, like you said, it was a career night for him. He had 44, 6, and 8. But, I mean, not that you guys didn't have good points. KCP had 26 points. Kuz had 22 points. Gafford had 14. Kispert had 15. So you guys had some points, but definitely I think maybe got outcoached in that game.
We were trading baskets. Like every time made a shot. Josh Hart literally turned this into a one-on-one matchup because he knew that he was going to get the better of us. If he was going to knock it down from 3, he'd take it to the lane. There really isn't any closeout defense on the lane. You don't even get a chance to like give him clogging the paint. It's just easy baskets, easy layups. And I think honestly, I really believe that it was just Chauncey seeing the scheme, Chauncey seeing what was going on, and he made it work. You don't really see the Wizards run as many offensive sets as they used to, but it makes sense because you got guys like Ish and you got guys like Sadaransky that are coming in that are playing and holding the primary ball carriers, but they don't know the offense like that. They only been here for like 2-3 weeks.
Right. And why wasn't Porzingis in the game?
I mean, he can't play back-to-backs. And so this was a back-to-back from the Lakers game, so he couldn't play. But my point of the whole thing is you have no Nurkic. You have a rookie or second-year player in Ellis and Eubanks. Eubanks had a career game. Why? Because 23 minutes of that game, he was locked on Thomas Bryant. And Thomas Bryant was an easy person to get off on. You don't have your best center. There's no reason why your bigs should not have both double-doubles, or your starting big should have 18 and 12 or 20 and 12. Like, there's no reason. But Wes, I think, gets into a point where I'm going to just try it. Whatever happens. Thomas Bryant, you know what? You're going to magically turn it to just drop 17 points right off the back, and then we're going to end up winning this game. I'm sorry. I'm staying on that hill. I'm not a Thomas Bryant person. I never understood why people liked him. And, I'm going to leave it at that. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, and I'm going to chime in on Eubanks real quick because he used to play for my team. Let's see, Drew Eubanks, he had 20 points, 3 assists, and 12 rebounds. So this is a guy that was not our starting center and not even our backup center. At some games, he was our backup center. More likely, he was our third rotation in. But someone coming out of Pop's system is going to have some basketball IQ, whether he's the most talented on the floor or not. Obviously, he's not. But he has some basketball IQ. So definitely happy he had a good game. Sorry it was against you guys.
Listen, I try to tell y'all, everybody in the league, if you want your career night, please dial 1-800-WASHINGTON Wizards. They're going to be doing it for you. They'll let you get whatever you want.
All right. Well, and then this week coming up, you guys play the Warriors tonight. You're in Golden State. Then you play the Nuggets on Wednesday, and that's a home game for you guys. Then you play the Knicks on Friday in New York. And then come Saturday, you guys play the Lakers again, but it's a home game for you guys. So is this going to be something that we see Kyle Kuzma have a good night?
I hope so. I hope so. It's going to possibly be a rough week this week. Okay. It quite possibly could be an 0-4 week for the Wizards. Okay. You're playing Golden State Warriors, and to my knowledge, I think this is Steph Curry's birthday.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. So okay. I think this is Steph Curry's birthday. Draymond Green comes back.
Correct.
So there's more anticipation. We're on the West Coast, and we're against one of the better defensive teams in the league and one of the best shooting teams in the league. Clay just went over 20. Jordan Poole's been going over 20. Curry can get over 20. Will you blow out or you beat a team and Curry only had 8 points in the game? That tells a lot how much your team has. Like I said, if you want to get a game, I don't know if it's going to be Wiggins and I don't know if it's going to be Poole, but one of them is going to go for at least 20 plus on us tonight because the defense is just not there. We suck at closeout defense, and this is one of the best catch and release, catch and shoot type teams in the league. So
So this is where you're starting to feel the loss of Dinwiddie.
Oh, absolutely. I talk to Mavericks fans all the time. I tell them like they're all happy and they're this. I'm like, I have never been so hurt for a guy because he was trying his best to he wasn't sitting here saying that he was good at everybody else. He was like, look, we're slumping. Right, we went from 10-3 to 14-15. He like, bro, what the heck? But what happened is guys didn't like him. Now he's on a team. They like him. He has ice in his veins and he's doing well. We need a point guard that can actually at least understand how to run the offense or whatever's going on. Because right now, all Neto and Ish do is just, I appreciate them. Don't get me wrong. But all they do is just run around and then hope somebody gets open and then hope they make the shot. There's no offensive sets. And you're going up against a team that has been 7 years together or 8 years together. Mm-hmm. They know their offense. They know exactly what they want to run and they know who they want to exploit. And I don't see, if we're going to win, I think Kuzma and KCP and KP all have to go for 20 plus, period. Okay. I don't see us winning that game. And then now we got Denver coming at home. And this is coming at home from what this looks like on the Sixers and Nuggets game, hold serve, getting beat. And that's a loss to Golden State and a possible loss to the Sixers. And you're coming back here. And I remember back when we played Denver the first time, we were down by 20 plus when Jokic was in the game. The only reason why that game got close is because Jokic got ejected, and then we came back on that make a run. But Jokic in the game, we weren't getting anything. It just didn't lit. The Knicks is the only team that I can honestly see that might be able to be the one that we could possibly get a win for, but they like up-tempo. They got RJ Barrett. They got Julius Randle. Mm-hmm. Who's Julius Randle going to be guarded against? Oh, great. Thomas Bryant. Here we go. 30 points. Coming off the back.
I do think the Knicks is probably the more winnable game, but that matchup is going to be not great.
And then for the Lakers one, we have to get that game. Like, it's not even just about, like, not even just for the season, but these guys need to believe that they can do better even though they're not with this guy, because that's what they've heard their entire careers, is that they're only was as good as with LeBron and being them with them. They got to get this game for their confidence, because if we want Kuzma and KCP to be around for the long haul as we bring in more guys, they got to feel that they can beat him head-to-head.
Okay. Well, good luck on your games this week, Joseph, and let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Well, you can follow me on Facebook. I'm I said JJ Mr. Wizards. I meant to say JJ the Wizard. Okay, whatever. That's cool. But you can find me on Facebook, JJ Jenkins. I'm with Sideline Sports. I'm on the NBA Carousel. I'm going to be able to possibly get on the sip-off and then the gauntlet. And then just anywhere y'all need me to be, I'm happy to be on, because I love talking sports. I love this. March Madness is coming up, so definitely go NC State Lady Wolfpack, and
absolutely,
that's where I am.
Well, thank you so much, Joseph, and we will see you back the next time you're available.
All right, thank you, dear. I'll see you guys later now.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Steve Shawanda covering the Golden State Warriors and the Brooklyn Nets tonight.
How you doing, Megan?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Good. Man, JJ's stealing my thunder talking about Draymond coming back.
I know. Right. Well, let's talk about Golden State real quick. It is Steph's birthday, correct?
It is. It is Wardell Stephen Curry's the second's birthday today. So, we shout out to Steph. Though it's a little bit of a somber day over here for people my age that liked wrestling, because the great Scott Hall, also known as Razor Ramon, passed away today. So I had to break out my Scott Hall figure real quick. But
I love that.
Yeah. First time in 1,095 days. Yeah, 1,005 days. Besides the 7 seconds that Draymond played during Clay night, where he started the game and then just quick got the foul. He was out in 7 seconds. Clay, Steph, and Draymond have not played together in a game for 1,005 days. Now, that will be ending this evening, 10 o'clock Eastern time. He's going to be on a minute restriction, about 20 to 23 minutes, they said, for the next, 10, 14 days or so. But it's a really important time for them. They actually have kind of an easy week compared to last week where they had to play Denver twice, the Clippers and the Bucks.
Right.
So this is a much easier week that they have Washington at home. Though the Celtics, though it's at home, obviously Jason Tatum can go off for 50 piece anytime. So you got to be ready for that, obviously.
Right.
And then, God, who do they have on Sunday? God. Oh, that's right. It's the Spurs.
Right. My team.
That's
No, I don't expect us to win that game. I was just happy that I didn't even know if we were going to Pop was going to get the record until later on this week. Like I thought whenever we played OKC or the Pelicans that we were going to maybe be able to get the win that game. But I'm glad we got it with Utah because some of our players played for Utah that used to be a part of our team. So I'm just glad that the record is there and it's behind us and we can concentrate. What Pop said was he was more impressed by the performance in the win for that particular game than actually the record.
Well, Pop's never going to say anything about himself. So, I mean, and it's crazy to think that he was on Don Nelson's staff for so long, who is a man he passed. So, I mean, if you count how many games he's been on the bench for, how many wins, I mean, it's just as far as an assistant and now being a head coach, it's just crazy. So, obviously, I mean, how can you not like Pop? He's the man. But anyway, tonight against Washington, it's Steph's birthday, and I expect him to go off for, 3 reasons. One, as JJ pointed out, Washington's a good team to get a career night against.
Oh no, but
we won't go that much off, but he'll have at least 25 tonight. Steph will have at least 25. Right. He is 34 tonight, so maybe he goes for 34, goes for his birthday, and then I don't know. I'm just saying that'd be fun. If he gets 34 and then stops or something, so he gets his age. I don't know. He is 34 tonight, so but he'll have at least 25 tonight because 1, they're playing Washington. 2, it's his birthday, and then 3, obviously he did. Though this, I want to talk about this in a second. He didn't have a great game the last game against Milwaukee because he only scored 8 points, had 8 assists and 5 rebounds. But this is why you watch the NBA Carousel if you don't watch the games, because we tell you things that you can't just read in the box score. If you watch the game, you'll notice what makes Steph Curry so great, and more importantly, what makes the Wizards such a good team. Very early on, he noticed, hey, Klay Thompson's got it going, and he had 30.
Oh, right, yeah.
He's got 38. Hey, Jordan Poole's got him going. He had 30. Wiggins had 21. Kuminga had 14 and 11. So, and here's the thing, because he's Steph Curry, the defense still has to guard him. So even though he took, I think 7 shots the whole game, and he had 3 halfway through the third quarter. He was 2 for 3 halfway through the third quarter. But if you watch the game, he literally just stood in a corner because he knew that he was still going to get face guarded. So he's still getting face guarded. He's basically taking a defender out of the play and letting them open up so much more. Basically, you're playing 4-on-4, but there's so much more room because he's just standing in a corner. And now that entire, rest of the side is open because they're obviously still not going to leave Steph Curry open because he's still Steph Curry. So great job of noticing very early that, hey, I'm not even like, and that's the thing. He doesn't force it. And it was the cool thing about the All-Star game. And they asked him, and it's just the All-Star game, but it's just that their mindset. They asked him, when do you decide if you're going to go for the MVP, right? And he's like, the next time in, I'll throw a couple shots up. We'll see how I feel. Well, it turned out he felt really well, and he, almost had an All-Star record. And that's kind of what he can do. You let the game come to you. You get everybody else involved. He knows he can get his whenever he wants. So if the team needs him to score 20, he will. 30, he will. 40, he will. But, hey, he's not going to force, 20 shots just so he can try to get his. Not that anybody would do that. Right. LeBron. So it's one of those things where you just recognize, what the team needs. And he did it way back in Davidson. Since I've been watching him since then, there was a team that literally ran a triangle and 2 where they literally put both of the 2 on Steph Curry and then had the other 3 guard the other 4. And Steph Curry literally stood at half court and the 2 guys stood next to him and his team played 4-on-3 and they won. It was the only game in his college career that he didn't score double digits, but he's just like, I'm just going to sit here and they're going to win. Right. And that's the kind of mentality that he had even back then at Davidson. Obviously now having a few championships under his belt, few MVPs under his belt, he doesn't have anything to prove to anybody like, oh, I got to shoot, I got to try to shoot 25 times today. And obviously he already has a 3-point record, so that kind of helps a little bit too. Kind of the same thing with the pop thing. Like you want to get that record out of the way so people stop talking about it.
Right.
Kind of move on with, with the rest of your, but yeah, if you just look at the box score, while like, wow, Giannis had 31, Steph had 8. Oh, Bucks must have won by 30. You're like, nope, other way around.
Right. And that lineup has that ability to do that. But speaking of lineups, so we're looking at I think we've got 68 games under your belt, 14 left.
22. Yep.
So now that Draymond's going to be back, is that going to be enough time for him to get in the rotations and you guys be settled going into the first round of the playoffs?
Well, that's the thing is you're going to use these next couple of weeks to get settled. And I talked about this week. The next week you got a road trip, which is not great because you're at Orlando, at Miami, at Atlanta, at Washington, and at Memphis. So, and then that Memphis game obviously is a really big game because you're only came back from second place Memphis right now. So that's obviously an important game. But you're going to use those games to get kind of accumulate because I feel that I'm sure they do too. I don't think they care if they're 2 or 3.
Okay.
That much. So I think they care way more about getting the rotation down, which, by the way, James Wiseman did play 20 minutes last night in the G League.
I saw that.
And he had a double-double. He had 19 points, 14 rebounds, 19 and 14, solid, couple blocks, couple assists. Yes. And yes, it's the G League. I get it. But, 19 and 14 in 20 minutes. I mean, even if you say
extremely efficient.
Give me half of that. Give me 8, 9 and 7 and for him, and I'd be ecstatic, right? So
absolutely.
And I think you're going to see much like their lineup that they had with Durant, Iguodala, Draymond, Steph, and Clay. I think you're going to see a lineup of Draymond when everyone's healthy. You're going to see Draymond, Wiggins, Poole, Clay, and Steph, and you're just going to have mismatched nightmares everywhere. And between Wiggins, Draymond, still Clay, and even Jordan Poole, at least long enough to, they're going to switch everything, and on defense, they'll be okay. But on offense, it's just going to be scary. So I think you're going to see that lineup to close out playoff games. And you can't help off of anybody. And, because Draymond sees the floor so well, so you almost run pick and rolls where Draymond has the ball and you have Clay or Steph set the screen and then pop, and Draymond will make the right decision with the ball. So, I expect that lineup to come. But yeah, I think that's a great point that you made. That's what you got to do the next, 2 weeks, 2.5. You're just making sure that your rotation's good, making sure everybody's trying to stay healthy. Iguodala's still out. Gary Payton II still out. Porter is back now. Obviously, Draymond's back tonight. They said Wiggins is questionable. He has a non-COVID related illness. So we'll see if he plays. And against Washington, they might sit him. But especially considering, they play Wednesday and then they play Sunday. So maybe you just get through it and then you got a couple of days off to get ready. But yeah, I think the next, you get Draymond ready. He said, he's always said he hates minute restrictions, but he understands it. And especially in this, particular situation, you're hurt. You're just trying to get back from it. So, I expect to see him tonight. Like I said, it's 20 to 23 minute restriction. I think tonight he might only play 18 to 20 and then kind of ease him back into it. And obviously how the game going will dictate that too. But I think they're going to be. Clay had 38 last game. Was hit 8 for 14 from 3. So his mini slump is over, and gives him another weapon, and that's what makes it great. And March Madness is awesome, and I love it. And I filled out my men's bracket, I filled out my women's bracket, but man, in that NBA, you still got to beat them, 4 out of 7 times. And I think that's what's going to be really tough to beat this team 4 out of 7 times because Steph might have an off night. Clay might have an off night, but they're not going to have 4 off nights in a row, both of them.
Right.
So, that's what's going to make
it
hard to beat, come a month or so from now.
Well, let's slide over to your other team, and we just kind of throw them in the lineup every now and then. They've gone through a rough patch. But, we saw the Nets. We saw KD have a 50-point night the other night. And then we also saw him have some comments about the New York City mayor. So, that's kind of what I want to touch on. And then I want to also touch about, they're sitting at the 8 seed right now. How dangerous is that for Miami Heat? Or, they're only 2.5 games behind the Raptors, which the way the Raptors are playing, I don't think the Nets catch them. I think, those two, the 7 and the 8 seed, I think that's pretty predictable right there. So whether they play the Heat or the Sixers in the first round of the playoffs, do they have the ability to beat those teams in the first round?
Well, they just beat the Sixers, by a nice, comfortable 29-point margin in Philly.
Absolutely.
Still without, and that's the big question. And talk about with Golden State. How about with Brooklyn? Still no timetable for Ben Simmons' return, when he does. And you're getting really close to the point where you don't want anybody to come back and mess up your rotation and mess up your mojo. Now they got a lot of veterans and they've had some players in and out, with Aldridge thing and Blake Griffin. Sometimes he'll start, sometimes he won't play. He doesn't play for a week, then he comes in, scores 19, then he doesn't play again the next night. So they can deal with it. The players, at least. Still, my concern would be Steve Nash as the coach. I still don't think he's ready for that kind of situation. And then you just do your bonehead things, like getting fined $50,000 for letting Kyrie Irving in the locker room yesterday, which is against the protocols, for him. So, you get fined $50,000 to have him, in the locker room. And even without going in, you could say it's stupid or not stupid, but you still know it's the rule. So for you to whether you agree with the rule or not, it's the rule. So
right.
It's
looking like it's going to change probably, but here's the thing: like he was in the stands. He was in the stands without a mask on, and that was allowed, but he couldn't be on the court.
Right.
And so I do think, like you said, the rules are the rules, and there's those of us that didn't live in New York City. We don't know what they went through during COVID, and couldn't possibly understand. So no criticism for them trying to protect themselves, but that does seem kind of ridiculous that you can sit in the stands, support your team, but you can't be on the court.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You're getting to Tyler, so he can now, it's one thing you're like, oh, you can't be there. Like, okay, but now he can be there. So now he's sitting courtside,
right.
So, but with that, and it's kind of Durant being like, hey, this is the only place where he can't play now, basically. Right. So besides home games and at MSG, everywhere else he can play, basically.
Right.
So,
well, he can't play in Canada.
Right, and he can't play in Canada. Right. And
because I don't think they even have fans at all still.
Yeah. And he had a good game against Philly. I mean, he had 22, 4, and 5.
Right.
Durant obviously 25, 14, and 7. And everybody was talking about obviously, the Ben Simmons thing because he was there at least, right? So everybody can boo him and say mean things to him and chant things that you're not allowed to say on TV. And but it was Seth Curry who had 24,
Right, yes.
He's like, hey, this team got rid of me too. Like, I'm going to come back. And Seth had a huge game, but he has a little ankle injury, so he didn't play against New York, and he's questionable for their game tomorrow against Orlando. And that's the thing that everybody talked about, like, oh, well, you got, Philly got so much better because they gave away a guy who never played for a guy who's going to play. Not talking about the fact that they gave up Seth Curry, who's a great shooter, and Andre Drummond, who gives, the Nets some size and some, rim protection. And, he was never as good as he was paid at, once. Obviously, I live in Michigan, so I've seen plenty of Andre Drummond play. But he's still going to, he's still going to help him. Really, I think what hurts the Nets the most is Joe Harris's injury. I know he struggled shooting in the playoffs last year, but I think that's a player that really would have helped him. But yeah, the Ben Simmons thing, I mean, you at least have to have a timetable. Like, hey, because I really believe you need at least 10 days before the playoffs.
Right. I absolutely agree. And so,
or you want to just put him in the playoffs.
Why is he out? Is he still on the mental health reasons, or is that not what Brooklyn is saying?
I think it's still, which that is the thing. And if you just say, well, he's still not in game shape, number one, because there is a difference, obviously, between being in shape and being in game shape. We get that. But that shouldn't take a professional athlete more than like a week or so, truthfully. 10 days tops. So at some point, you have to, and that's the other thing is the Nets made the trade, right? So they had to have some sort of conversation, right? Like you have to have some sort of plan, and maybe they have a plan. They just don't want to tell us, which, is fine. But man, at some point you got to be, tell me 2 weeks, tell me a month.
Right. Yeah.
Tell me he's not going to play this year. We're just going to, get ready for next year with him, make sure his mind right, make sure his body's right. Okay. At least tell us something, but still no timetable for when he would play. And that's the thing is and he could really help them because they don't need him to shoot jump shots. So
indeed,
he could be a really nice player for them. And that's the thing is, unless they're playing, I guess besides their home games, unless that changes, and unless they play the Knicks, which they would in the playoffs, if they play Toronto, they won't in the playoffs. So
it gets sticky, and especially if they're at the number 8 or the number 7 seed, because they will. Well, the Knicks, where are the Knicks at? Are they even in playing contention? No, they're at number 12, so they wouldn't be playing the Knicks. That's not going to be a problem. But the Raptors, that's going to be a problem right there.
That would be that's the thing, and they're probably, because at worst they're going to, or at best I think they'd be 7, right? Because it's like a game and a half. I think to get to 7, so I don't think they're not going to jump. So they're going to most likely, unless crazy things happen, they're going to be in the play-in. So if you're in the 7-8, obviously you feel a lot better than if you're in the 9-10, because then you got a lot more work to do. But I still think that that's a team that if you're the 1 or 2 seed, you don't want to have any part of them in the first round.
I absolutely agree. And I think it's kind of a matchup nightmare with Miami personally. Miami is still managing to win games, and, we've seen Bam have some big games recently, but I think it's a matchup nightmare for Miami particularly.
I think it's a very bad matchup for Miami. And the same thing, obviously, I like to give LeBron a hard time, but the same thing for the Lakers, right? Because LeBron is obviously capable of going off. So whether AD comes back or not, he's still capable of 1 or 2 games himself just going off. And then if the team shoots bad, there's 3 games, and if somebody else steps up, there's 4. So those high seeds, when they see a team like Brooklyn and they see a team like Los Angeles in this, in that 7-8 region, you're like, oh boy, like I don't, especially like if heaven forbid, if it happened, like if Memphis gets the 2 seed and Lakers somehow get the 7, like, ja Morant's special and all that stuff, but besides that, like all the other advantages would go to the Lakers, in that series. So, those that's why, again, keep watching the NBA Carousel, because it's going to be a great end of our season.
Absolutely. It's getting real dicey in the NBA right now. Steve, good luck on your games this week. Hopefully we see a 34-point night for Steph on his 34th birthday.
34th. What we're hoping for. And quickly, I know I messaged you, but congratulations to your Longhorns for their big Big 12 championship yesterday against Baylor. That was a great game. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. And let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Absolutely. Well, it's this time of year. Definitely on the NBA Carousel every Monday, talking mostly Warriors, sometimes Nets as well, and because they seem to be a soap opera, so they're fun to talk about sometimes. And then just All Eyes On, the letter U, All Eyes On You Hoops on Twitter, where this time of year we're talking NBA, college, and even high school basketball is in full swing. Girls are in the quarterfinals, boys are in the regionals. So in Michigan here. So yeah, I'm basically talking all basketball all the time.
Yeah, same. And we're sleeping a lot less in this month. So, all right, Steve, thank you so much. And we will see you back next week. All right, guys, we're going to slide over to our next rep. We have Jay Nelson covering the Houston Rockets. Hey, Jay. Hey.
You see this? Yeah. Got it done yesterday.
Yes. Oh, man, our freshman is something really special. Our freshman guard. She's going to be a superstar by the end of it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And they're getting better. Like, she easily stood out that game, and it was great. They won their first conference title since 2003, and they beat the Bears for the first time in 13 tries. They lost the last 13.
Right, yeah. And this is the first time they've made it to the championship, the Big 12 championship since 2003. So, just happy to see them kind of get over that slump. Not that Baylor's not still an extremely excellent team. They ended up getting the 3 seed. So still a tough team, most definitely.
Yes, absolutely. Still a tough team. Now, did you see the region that they're in? Because Stanford is number 1 overall. And
I don't think we can beat Stanford. I do think that the Texas girls will make it to the Elite 8, and then I think we lose to Stanford in that.
You know what? I think if they rematch, Texas gets them again.
Well, they have beat them. Yeah, they have beat them.
Teams have gotten better. So if they stay in at the same, I think the Lady Horns get them again.
Well, I would love to see that, even though I feel like Stanford is probably at the moment the more experienced team. I do think Texas has got a ton of talent, but they're young. So there's a little difference there as far as, making it to the big tournament and then making it to that level in the big tournament. So we'll see. But let's talk about your Rockets. We saw you guys have a big win this week. Let's talk about that.
We did, absolutely. So 139 to 130 in overtime versus the Lakers. Really great game. Great from both teams, really. With credit to the Lakers, like LeBron doing LeBron things. He had a triple-double. He had 23, 12, and 14. We just saw this man nail this. He the first guy with 30,000 points, 10,000 assists, 10,000 rebounds. So, he's going to – I think it's been noted that LeBron is not the problem with the Lakers.
Well, and even Westbrook had a 30-point game that night.
Surprisingly, he had a 30-point game. But how many more of those are you going to get out of the man? There hadn't been too many.
I don't think the points are really the problem with Westbrook, just kind of putting my opinion out there about the Lakers. I think his turnovers are the problem.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm going to get to the Rockets in a minute. Here's the thing. At this stage in Westbrook's career, this is him. This is what you're going to get. He was a turnover machine in Oklahoma City. So this really shouldn't be that hot of a topic. You know what I'm saying?
Right, I agree.
He's been like this since OKC. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, okay. He's good enough to get you 25 or 30, cool. But he's gonna turn the ball over 7 times. It's a matter of, can he not turn the ball over at the most opportune time? You see what I mean? But getting back to the Rockets, Green went nuclear.
Right. So career night for him.
Yes. 32 points, 4 of 7 from 3-point range. You also got, by the way, Christian Wood didn't play. You also got a double-double.
Oh, wow.
Kelvin Martin Jr. with 17 points and 11 rebounds. Dan Sengun had 21 and 14. He essentially stepped in and did the double-double duty for Christian Wood. Even Christopher had 21 off the bench. The key to winning, in my opinion, was, number one, there was the attack mellow scheme, which people thought was crazy, and then it worked. Then on top of that, the Rockets outscored the Lakers 19-10 in overtime and went 5 for 5 from downtown. And I came on, I know to some of y'all it's probably not a shock because it's the Lakers. They're just a bad team. But I did come on here last week and I said, if the Rockets play all 4 quarters, we will beat the Lakers.
Yes, you did say that. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. But that's the thing, is that we have to, do this more consistently, excuse me. And I think that is a lesson that Stephen Silas is going to express to his team during the offseason. And I think it should be the hottest topic, is missed opportunities. The Rockets have left a significant amount of wins out there. I'm not sitting here saying that if they would have won every game that we'd be a playoff team right now, but we at least would be in the chase, even as a young team like this,
Right.
And opportunities kill. They kill every time. You can't leave points on the field, can't leave points on the board. You got to seize opportunities when you do. You got to play all 4 quarters, We hung with too many contenders this year. Too many,
Right.
We wins than we should, but that was a great outing they had against LA. And then essentially we came back down to earth because we dropped to the Mavericks, 113-100. Wasn't that bad of a beating, but Green cooled all the way off. He only had 11. Cam J had 11. Luka doing Luka things. He had 30. Credit to him. Powell had 26. You know what I mean? And then last night we lost to the Pelicans, 130-105. Christian Wood did come back. He was virtually. He had 12 rebounds, only had 8 points. Volusius for the Pelicans had 32. You know,
Right.
so that was just a team that we just couldn't beat this year. But credit to the Pelicans. I mean, they're getting better and better and better. You know,
yeah, every game since the trade, we've seen them absolutely improve. You guys are going to play the Suns Wednesday, Pacers Friday, and then the Grizzlies on Sunday. Which game do you think is winnable out of that one? Obviously, probably not Phoenix, but even the Pacers have improved since the trade deadline as well.
They did. Pacers are a surprise team. I wouldn't be shocked if they were in it next year.
Okay.
Now, with that being said, I think that I don't foresee us beating Phoenix. Let's kind of get that. I'm a root for them, but I don't see them beating Phoenix.
Right. No, I don't anticipate the Spurs to beat them either. So I mean, it's real.
Right. You know, just being realistic. Indiana, we can probably steal if we play all 4 quarters. I'm gonna treat that one like the Lakers game. And the same for Memphis. We did get Memphis last time around. However, they may be kind of seeking retribution. So let's see. But I think if we play ball right, we could go 2 of 3 down that stretch. Maybe I'm the ultimate optimist. You can't blame me, you know, but yeah, you never call me a bandwagon. I know that.
Right. Most definitely. Completely agree. Well, good luck on your games this week, Jay, and let everybody know where they can find you and follow you and when you got on Jacob Christner's blazer.
All right. Let's see. Carousel Mondays hosted by Megan Price. Thursdays the sip off with Megan Price, Jahan Phillips, and Anthony A.B. Brown. The Gauntlet Show Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Myself, Dom DeRubis, Trigger Tyler Ingram, JT Shiesty. We bring you the hotness from around the football world as well as other news. We just had our anniversary show last Saturday, so please go check it out. Find it, get that, give us that like on YouTube and share. You know, we're getting out there and everything. We're taking a weekend off to kind of cool down a bit because we've been going kind of hard, you know, right. Last time on month. So we'll be back on the 26th, on Saturday the 26th, and then also Basket Bros on Sunday. That's all retro basketball, as Don would say. That's 2000s on back. So that's myself, Will Vogel, Jacob Christner, and Dom DeRubis. Jacob Christner might have his blazer on that night, you know. So definitely tune in. And Craig Davis, Marshall Hill, I see you. Fam Bam, Unconventional Kings. One love. 4 horsemen.
Thank you so much, Jay. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.
All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and slide over to our next rep. We have Tyler Ingram covering the Chicago Bulls. Hey, Tyler.
What up?
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing really well. Talk to me about your team. You guys played the Sixers this past Monday. It ended up being a loss, 121-106. And I want to say that when's the last time you guys beat the Sixers?
Last year. So they've swept us this year. So the Sixers have had our number. Mm-hmm. I figure I'll make this quick tonight since we're kind of getting through this. So the Sixers game, it's not a shock. The Sixers seem to have our number. Joel Embiid just goes off. He's just kind of a Bulls killer. They don't have an answer for him inside. It's really hard to put Vucevic on him because, I mean, Vucevic is a good player. I think people are really hard on him. But when you're guarding a guy like JoJo, it's really, I mean, what do you do? He's one of the most special players on the court. So, we slipped up there. But on Saturday, we bounced back with a win over the Cavs, 101-91. DeRozan had 25, 6, and 4. Vucevic had 20 and 14. And Caruso, who returned last night or on Saturday, had 11 points, 4 assists, and he looked good. He looked like he's got his energy back. It looks like he's playing defense more. So I am happy about that. I was going to touch on some of these other injuries. Zach LaVine will be playing tonight. He's had his knee issue. I don't think he'll ever be 100% this season, but that's okay. So his knee issue has been lingering him, but he is going to play at night. We have seen progress on Patrick Williams. He's already practicing with the Bulls, so expect to see Patrick Williams back here in the next week. And Lonzo Ball will be expected to return at the end of this month too. So big news. So with a 41-26 record, you got 15 games left in the season. The Bulls have a hefty load of games to play at the end of the year. Some really good teams. However, we're going to be at full strength, and we're going to play really good teams, and that's going to be really good momentum for us going into the playoffs.
Definitely. And y'all have a road trip coming up too. So that's going to be kind of tough. But once you guys are at 100%, that's going to make a huge difference. I did talk with Steve about what's going on with Brooklyn. And, do you think that that's somebody, obviously you wouldn't face them in the first round of the playoffs, but you might face them the next round if you were able to make it that, if either both of y'all's teams are able to make it to the second round. Is that a team that you think that you will have problems with in a 7-game series, or do you feel confident?
I feel confident in that one. The teams that I worry about, honestly, are teams that have a presence inside. So teams like Denver, teams like Philadelphia, teams like that have a presence inside, because I feel like when you have a really good guard like Kyrie Irving, and people know my feelings on Kyrie Irving, but
Right.
when you have someone like that, you're the Bulls, you have a lot of people to throw at them. You have Lonzo Ball to throw at him. You have DeSunamo to throw at him. You're getting Caruso back to throw at him. Patrick Williams could be thrown at him. So the Bulls have a lot of lineups that they can work with that. It's the long forwards and the long centers that I have an issue with the Bulls. So I think Philadelphia is the worst matchup for Chicago in playoffs.
All right. And just to keep it on the lighter side, how do you feel about Tristan Thompson?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a shock to me. I didn't really want him, to be honest. I get why they signed him, because they want to be able to get more offensive boards. They want more second chance points, especially with these shooters on this team. We have a prolific offense, and we can run up and down that court. So we're trying to get someone to eat some more boards. So Vucevic isn't having to get 14 boards on Saturday night to beat the Cavs. So we don't get stuck in those situations. So I was a little, it was a lackluster sign, but I understood the sign.
Absolutely. Well, all right, Tyler, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and follow you, and good luck on your games this week.
I appreciate it. And congratulations to Texas Longhorns. Hey, yo, shout out, rest in peace to Scott Hall. You guys could catch me on the Gauntlet on Saturday nights. You could catch me on the Sip Off on Thursday nights, here on the NBA Carousels on Monday nights. Peace and love. Love you all.
Thank you so much, Tyler. We'll see you next week. All right, guys, to wrap up the show, I'm going to have my producer come on. Hey, Jen. You are muted.
Hey, that would help to unmute, huh?
No problem. So,
how are you?
I'm doing really well. I know we wanted to touch on my team a little bit. We had a career moment for Popovich this past week. So just want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm going to go on a personal point. How did you feel when you saw that win?
I definitely cried. I don't want to cry right now, but I definitely cried. Pop cried a little bit at the end. And it was just, we've seen amazing things out of DeJounte Murray. And in the last 3 games, he's averaging a triple-double. He's just putting up amazing numbers, incredibly efficient. We got to put some more around him, but the performance in this game that got him the 13-36 win of his career, and where he took the record of most wins of all time, he also did that in 300 less games than Don Nelson, which is his mentor, basically. So, he did it at a higher proficiency rate. Also, we did it. We had against Utah, who had Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay is a former Spur. He played with us 4 or 5 seasons. So glad that he was able to be there and still be a part of it, even though he was on the losing side of it. It was such an excellent game. It was until the very final second. Both teams played their hearts out, and it was an emotional win, and so proud of him. So proud of my team. I knew we were going to get it this season, even though, we started this season. We needed 26 wins at the beginning of the season for Pop to get the record. So I knew we were most likely going to get it, but it's been a rough season. And so, there was a chance that maybe we didn't get it.
Right.
I didn't anticipate it against Utah. We play OKC later this week. And that was the game that I was like, okay, this is probably where we're going to get the record. And then we end our week playing the Pelicans. And I thought, well, maybe then, but they're also getting hot right now too. So I'm hoping the Spurs can pull out another 3 or 4 wins before the season's over. I don't know if we make the play-in tournament, but the goal was for this season, in my opinion, was get the record for Pop, and just work on our core, which I feel like we're completely doing. I've been impressed with how much Jakob Poeltl has improved this season on he's an excellent rebounder, but he's brought the points up, and we need that in a dominant big. He's not quite. I mean, he's not Tim Duncan. What can you say about that? He's not Tim Duncan. Nobody ever will be. I would love
Tim is Tim. I remember watching Tim in college.
I would really love to get another big name in our center position, but I am happy with Jakob Poeltl. And then also our 7-footer, Zach Collins, had a big night in that game as well. He had 15 points, and that's somebody that didn't play for three years. He had an injury, came back in the bubble, and then played like 4 or 5 games, and then had been out since then. So glad that he was able to come back. He's not necessarily the type of big that is going to be the biggest rim protector. But he's just not that super aggressive. He is an excellent 3-point shooter. So those 9 of those 15 points came from 3-pointers. So, that's just that deadly big guy that can hit the 3-point line. So I still believe in my team. It's always go Spurs go, but we're probably not going to make the playoffs.
Trust me, I understand that on several levels, but I was so excited when I saw that Pop won. You were the first person I thought of. I don't even know if I thought of Pop first. I think I thought of you first.
Well, thank you so much. Like I said, I cried. It was an emotional win, but kind of glad to put it behind us also, because it seemed like there was some pressure to get the record, so to put that behind us and maybe focus on making the play-in tournament. So we shall see, but we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to end the show. I just want to thank everybody for watching, and just remind you that the NBA Carousel is a Sideline Sports Network production, proudly sponsored by Score, No Score app. And also check out the Inscriber magazine for all your online technology sports news, provided by Sideline Sports, also sponsored by Manscaped. Thank you so much, guys.